Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we check out all the fanfics that are not pony related. Why? Oh, I think you know the reason by now. I think you know. Well, seeing as the last time that I did a Voltron fic, my voice was hoarse and I was almost dead in the water. This is what happens when I do long fanfics that feature Dinky as the main character. I think it's about time we pay back the classic Voltron series with a fanfic that I didn't do before. So, without further ado, stay back as he here at the Berry Memorial Library and proud to present Lion's Last Roar by Teasy. Enjoy. Lion's Last Roar by Teasy.
So, what do you think, Prince Lotor?
The witch Hagar asked of the younger ruler of Doom expectantly, as they stood in front of the confined roe beast in her lab. Although the witch had come up with many ingenious designs of the cybernetic creatures over the years, the one in the biochamber was of a novel and more advanced design than any she had come up prior. That particular design had been in the works for weeks, but between the recent political nonsense between Lotor and his father, King Zarkon, attacks by the Galaxy Alliance, and the additional destruction of Queen Merla's sudden defection and return to her home world, development on even a prototype stage had been somewhat slow. Fortunately, matters had settled down in recent days, for Lotor had returned and reconciled with his father, and the Eurasian-based Voltron force was rather quiet, having been embarrassingly duped into wasting their resources on destroying a false planet Doom. Oh, please don't remind me of that episode. Relatively order, at least as much as there ever was on their world, had returned to the point where Zarkon was comfortable enough to take a trip off-world to take care of business, as he had said before he left with some robotic military staff. And although Hagar was never pleased to see her favorite leader leave, she was pleased with the chance to proceed without distraction with her wicked work. As a bonus, the reformed Queen Merla had not returned to Doom. It was someone who had never been a fan of the arrogant Seventh Kingdom Queen, even before her sudden change of heart to goodness and light. Hagar did not mind her absence in the least. Lotor eyed the bound creature in the biochamber carefully. In its unamplified size, it was still an imposing sight, with armor-scaled arms and glowing red sensor eyes. The latter was formed a crown around its head, so the robe beast had a full 360-degree line of sight. Additionally, the circular scales on its arms and legs. Hagar had just finished explaining to the prince, had coiled up tentacles that would be released during battle. These tentacles were made of a semi-liquid and highly constructive metal and a biomatrix blend that could merge and form thicker and stronger appendices, or split into many thinner ones to entangle the damning crab as if in a web or net. The tentacles were also hooked up at the end for additional grip and electrified with damaging laser-powered bursts that would immediately sort out and destroy any crowd it caught, or kill any living being in its grasp. The witch was proud of the design, and felt a measure of confidence that even Voltron's famed blazing sword might not be able to slice through them all. And since they had one other advantage, the matrix from which the tentacles were constructed and connected by a critical impulse on the main part, a severed piece that could still do damage if it was close enough range to receive the transmitted signal from a neighboring chunk of metal to forge and work in harmony with it. The last, and the witch's personal favorite, aspect of the road piece that Hagar felt would make it especially deadly foe for Voltron was its advanced AI. In the past, road beasts had used standard AI their robots were programmed with, or they were sentient creatures that had been transformed into road beasts and retained awareness. The AI of that road beast, however, was completely different. It had been obtained from a rather unique life form native to a planet that Doom had contact with. The same planet that manufactured the robotic sentries for them. A world called Robert.
What are you doing?
Making a note here. Do Thundercats fanfic. The planet was populated by civilians of robotic bear-like creatures that could be best described as the living link between machine and flesh. Their base was bare, and their biological processes are the equivalent, or inorganic. Yet they were sentient and bear the characteristics of typical biological creatures, including going tons of fertilized substances on parts of their brain.
You just want to see if you can do a burble voice.
What do you mean? I can't do a burble voice.
Oh, you're good. You're real good.
Thank you. It was from a burble that had taken the AI for rubies. Of course, since Doom was on a peaceful trading terms with the planet, she acquired the creature through ill means. But the creatures, despite their advanced construction, were peaceful by nature, and hence rather weak and easy to overpower. It had been simple enough to attain one, especially since there were individuals in Doom's first circle of nobility that dealt directly with Robier contracts. One noble in particular had a number of them staffing her estate. So Hagar had not even had to leave Doom itself to get an unfortunate test creature. She merely had to pay a mercenary to attain it for her. One that would be disposable and caught, and the common soldier in need of a significant sum to pay off a debt in exchange for his services. Worked out nicely enough. From beside the old witch, Lotor evaluated the beast silently for several minutes before turning her to give her opinion. It looks hideously vicious, but then again, so do all of your creations. Lotor told her, one might think you modeled them after yourself. The witch's eyes darkened with insult.
Only you're not doing dangerous if I fought Prince Lotor.
Lotor said thoughtfully, rusting out the sulky threat in her tone was unimportant. Well, old witch, if what you say is true, then this road beast might give Voltron a run for his money. If we could put even one of the lions out of commission permanently with it, it would give us a great advantage. You're certain that it's ready to be taken into battle?
As ready as I can be on any beast that hasn't been fully tested at its full size,
the witch assured him.
But it's before it fell in this form, so I don't see why it wouldn't be at its optimized state.
Fine then, Lotor said, drawing into a larger processor. Make the preparations for it at once. We will head to Eris and attack the attack as soon as possible.
Several hours later,
one of Doom's most powerful battleships, the Draco score, entered Eris airspace. Prince Lotor was in command of the craft in the mission, and accompanying him were the witch Hagar and the fleet commander Cossack, as well as a host of robots. We've been scanned and detected by the signal originating in the Castle of Lions, one of the robots at the council announced. Defense seals raised. Good. Let them see us and fire, Lotor said nonchalantly. Let them waste their energy firing at us, so this robots can lay waste to that castle and those miserable lions. Another robot turned around. Incoming transmission! Cossacks went over to the console. Don't stand there looking stupid, tinhead! Put it on screen immediately! The robot did his order, and a moment later the face of Koran, the Castle Alliance diplomat, filled their central monitor. The Eurasian man had a stern look on his face, and regarded those of the British and the invading battleship.
Well, invading vessel from Planet Doom, this is your first and only warning. Leave our airspace immediately, or we will be forced to assume your intent is hostile and start an attack. That's right, Freaky, what are you doing?
What? I'm doing the voice of Koran.
No. You are doing the voice of Koran, the Voltron Legendary Defender.
And?
Different voice, different personality.
Yeah, that Koran actually has a personality. This guy has nothing.
Yes, but wouldn't it be better to actually give him his proper voice rather than using it on the show you love?
Oh, but I like Koran from Legendary Defender. He's silly, fun, and interesting.
No, we are sticking with him.
Fine. I'll go do that. But I'm not going to like it. Starting to the center of the floor, Lotor faced the monitor angrily. You don't need to assume anything, the prince replied confidently, because our intent is hostile. He glanced over his companions. Cossack! Blue Skin Commander looked up with an eager, vicious grin on his face. Yes, sire. So our friends on planet Eris, exactly how hostile we intend to be, with a few choice welcoming blasts. As you wish, sire. Cossack agreed with a nod, and with the help of the robots to the panel, released a barrage of laser fire at the castle alliance below and the surrounding grounds. And that is when they unleashed the Melis. Alright, first, we're going to destroy the Castle Alliance, and then I'm going to find the dragon, and I'm going to kill him. I'm going to make this whole place burn! Burn!
Once a few episodes of Escaflowne into Orlando decides to show up.
On the other side of the transmission, Koran gasped audibly, but they regained a stern countenance with a measure of controlled anger.
You have given us no choice. Prepare to face a counterattack.
With that, the screen blank, and Hagar gurgled weakly.
Oh, I thought they never asked.
Cossack looked up from the console.
They're firing their turret back at us and raise their shields. Nothing is going to go through us.
Lotor nodded. Good. Keep drawing their fire, while Hagar releases their new pet.
Right away, pirates, Lotor.
Hagar agreed. The hooded figure quickly exited the bridge to deploy the road beast. A moment later, a coffin-shaped vessel came out of the sight of the Draco score, carrying one of the witch's creation. Hagar herself remained behind in the battleship, but by the shuttlecraft bay where she could channel her magic directly to the creature once it climbed out. Although the battleship had the means to magnify the beast itself, she wanted to add her own personal touch to the road beast. It was a prototype, and as one she had put a lot of effort to, it was the creation she was proud of. A robot at another console spoke up as it read the signal of 5 incoming enemy crafts with a distinctive, as it was on Doom, notorious, shape.
Incoming alliance, Prost Lotor.
Wonderful. Lotor said with a crudely pleased grin. They're coming at us with such energy. That Voltron force has certainly become trigger-happy these days. One might even be able to argue that they're warmongers. Of course, Lotor was well aware that Eris had every reason to assume a hostile intent from Doom. But why quiver over details? Well, these are the same group of people that said, instead of saving the innocent slaves and stopping Doom when they had the opportunity to go, oh, we can attack the evil empire and attack the evil overlord. Voltron is a defender. We don't start fights. We end them. The innocent civilians, help us! You know, I make up the reason that the only reason why the Rangers didn't take the Megazord over to Pandora's palace is because Pandora had a shield around it and around her fortress, and they couldn't get in. But other than that, if they had a ability to get into Planet Doom, they should have taken it and saved those slaves rather than letting them die and suffer agonizing deaths. Sorry, you gotta forgive him. It's still a touchy subject.
They didn't have much of a problem blowing up your fake asteroid Doom, that's for sure.
Kosker agreed from his seat in the control station.
So much for their high and mighty moral preaching. It's enough to make you lose your nuts, I tell you.
Tell me about it. Lotor nodded. Indeed. Now it's time to make them lose theirs. Let's shake them up a little. I love you, Lotor. He lifted his communicator piece and addressed the witch, awaiting his orders. Hagar, release the road beast. Witch answered with a cackle, and a moment later, the road beast emerged from its coffin. Immediately, one of the robots, already quite familiar with the procedure, fired the enhancement system on the creature. Oh, firing the sound lasers! While Hagar concentrated her own magical energy into the beam to magnify its strength. Cossack, meanwhile, kept the ship's weapon systems firing heavily on the Castle Alliance below.
Castle's defenses are at 67%, one of the robots reported. Our seals are still holding at 54%. That robies better get those lions fired off us soon, or we won't be able to hold out at this rate,
Cossack pointed out. Lotor frowned terribly at the commander. Yes, fool, I know that. I can do the math. He snapped. Frankly, I'm surprised you can.
Does keep you on top of things,
Cossack grumbled back, mildly irritated at the insult, as he concentrated a blast on the central tower of Castle Alliance. He was pleased to see that portion of the energy did some damage, even if it was more cosmic destructional. The sound of high-pitched, wicked laughter filled the speakers of the room, followed by, clearly, the delaying announcement from Hagar.
My pet has gone out to play with the Castle of Lions.
Very confidently, Lotor strode closer to the monitor. Put it on screen. Let's watch this little show. Immediately, a robot pressed the button, and the image of the skies around him filled the monitor of the battleship. All 5 lions were out and engaged in battle with their main ship, smaller ships that accompanied it, but just fallen back to regroup when they saw the hideous monstrosity that Hagar had set loose upon them. It charged at the lions mercilessly, aiming first at the closest lion, which happened to be the red one. The roar snagged its leg in a snare of liquefied cables.
He exceeds my expectations!
Hagar noted with a fist gleaming in her eyes as he returned to the bridge. He is performing well so far, Lotor agreed, but the battle isn't won yet. Cossack glanced over, noticing that the yellow and blue lions were in the process of trying to free the red lions from the cables.
As long as we keep the lions entangled and they can't form Voltron, we can pick one off one by one.
Hagar nodded.
It'll be easier for us if Voltron never gets formed.
Then he won't be, Lotor asserted. They picked up the communicator, keying the frequency to broadcast directly to the road beasts. With a ferocious growl, the Prince of Doom ordered, "Tear that lion apart!" And just when all hope seemed lost, rising from the heavens came Vaughn riding on top of Escaflowne! Yeah, I'm a fan of that anime. On the opposite end of the battle, the Voltron force was not feeling nearly as optimistic about the whole situation. Struggling fruitlessly to break free of the robot beast's cable hold, Lance winced in pain as his Leon's power shock tore into the body of the lion. The console into his body.
Ugh! This thing's trying to fry me!
He snarled, shaking the string off his hands for a moment.
If you got any tricks for cutting me free, now would be a good time to try them! What the hell is that thing anyway?
Hunk demanded from over in the yellow lion.
A slice that burns through more tentacles than I can count! It just keeps making more!
Look at you, freelance! Alura told the red lion pilot assertively. Although her voice was not without a noticeable measure of concern, we won't let anything happen to you. You've got that right, Keith agreed. It brought the black lion round to a position where it was a bare position to attack the red beast's head. Pitch, you and I will concentrate our fire on this thing's head. If we can short it out, it might disrupt whatever's controlling those cables long enough for yellow and blue lions to break him free.
Hey! Ow! Actually, you pretend that Keith has a personality?
Fine. But I'm going to use the role that I love Keith's voice actor the most in.
Good.
The green lion was in the back of the lion's side for a second.
You got it, Keith!
Pitch replied. Immediately, the two opened fire on the red beast's back, flying at opposite angles.
What was that voice?
Nothing. Nothing, boss. The red beast's reaction to the attack was not as the Voltron force intended. While it did respond to the assault from the black and green lions with an intense burst of laser fire from its eye crown that seared into the airspace above it, causing both attacking lions to avoid the full brunt of the blast. Its grip and attention to the red lion and its sister's lions did not waver in the slightest. A second and more powerful shock ripped through the red lion, causing the lions to scream out of pain. Red lion thrashed helplessly, clawing and spitting like fire all around in a last-ditch attempt to melt the tentacles, but no avail.
Damn it!
Hunk swore angrily.
Since when did those things learn to multitask so well?
Said an equally upset Pidge. Although the youngest member of the Voltron force was calmer than Hunk's, it was evident to all her teammates that she was just as agitated as the more vocal Hunk. What were you doing?
Nothing.
Keith growled as he returned fire on the creature, targeting its eyes to try to dismiss its crown laser attack.
This thing doesn't operate like any of the road beasts I remember. It's like it's thinking on its own, but not like when we fought once like Prince Avok or that Hagar transformed. Almost like it's bare concentration.
the role you associate Keith the most with is the narrator from Mass Effect?
I love that game.
I think it is a machine, Alura offered. It doesn't even resemble any creature I've seen on any of the planets we know of, even as a mutated version.
Slicing through a few of the cables on its torso with a recently freed claw, Lance growled as she shook a piece off a molten tentacle, already reforming into its hard, gripping form. Ugh. I'm no expert, but that's gotta be the most advanced AI I've seen yet. I hope Doom didn't acquire something like that for all their forces on some planet they acquired, Keith said worriedly. Otherwise, we've got our work cut out for us. Planes flew down alongside the road beast at high speed, trying to slice it with one of Green Lion's mouth knives.
I sure would feel better if we could form Voltron and take this thing on.
She glanced at the monitor, showing the heavy assault Castle Alliance was under the attacking battleship.
I don't know how well the castle defenses will hold without us to draw its fire.
Attention, this is Alan Cesar. We're here to offer our help.
Hearing the castle mentioned, Alura glanced at her monitor and felt a stab of heartache when she saw the damage the castle had already taken. Without the Alliance to disable the attacking ship, it was slowly falling under the heavy fire of the Draco score. But the Castle Alliance was a fortress that could withstand a forcible assault. It would not hold forever. She knew that Lotor was likely to study the castle's structure, defenses, and limitations prior to attacking, instead of forced to appropriately deal with it, while the road beast, distracted, kept Voltron's hands full. That's all the more reason to break free and form Voltron as soon as we can, the princess said, a hard and determined edge to her voice. Lance grimaced as another shock went through the Red Lion, though not as violent as some of the prior ones had been, as he had successfully freed all but its back right leg, with fast enough movement and fire enough blast, had managed to keep the rest of the limbs from being ensnared.
If you guys can cut my ass loose, we can be up and forming in no time. I've got as much power as I can to set the thrusters, and as soon as I switch over, just cut the cord and I'm gone.
Over in Yellow Lion, but now more occupied with trying to keep itself from the trapping grip of the lace-on tentacles of the road beast, rather than able to do much for Lance. Hunk sent an elemental attack of thick steam of liquefied metal that lunged towards the Yellow Lion's neck.
I'm up for that. Just give me a second. This thing seems to be getting friendly with me now.
Aggressively and decisively, Princess Alura pushed the Blue Lion forward. You just get yourself out of there, Hunk. It hasn't paid me much attention yet. I'll free you.
Be careful, Princess.
Keith's voice roared over the speaker as he expertly guided Black Lion out of the way to the Eye-Crown fire. He had disabled a few of its sights, and while the going was slow, Voltron Force Captain took that as a point of victory nonetheless.
Don't gamble too heavily that Lotor won't want to see you hurt. Remember what believing the change got us last time.
I don't trust him, but I do have the advantage regardless. Don't worry about me, Keith.
Oh yeah, when they decided to BS it and turn Lotor back to evil.
With that, Alura sent the Blue Lion charging headlong into the fray. Its mouth opened in a powerful roar, and sank its teeth directly into the cables, holding Red Lion's hostage. The sharp metal tore through the cables easily, almost liquefying them beneath steel teeth. But as they had discovered early on in the battle, the ease with which the tentacles were cut was quite deceptive. Red Lion, hearts high into the air, immediately after being freed, he shook off all but remaining droplets of liquid cable. It was reformed in the air and came after him of their own free will. But those were easily dodged and subsequently targeted in flight. Hunk once took that as his cue to pull back with the Yellow Lion. He was already well on his way from the beast he called Blue Lion.
Good work, Princess! Remind us not to bare your teeth on us!
He said with a released smile that quickly changed to an alarm was no longer forthcoming. The monitor on his console indicated that the Blue Lion had not followed him out as they had planned. Pids, too, immediately noticed what had happened with the princess. From Green Lion's position underneath Blue Lion, near the ground, dodging an onslaught of tentacles that sprang out of nowhere at her from the road beast's lower legs after her earlier attempts to cut it open, she saw to her horror that the cables that Blue Lion had chewed through with its mouth had melted inside of it. They reformed, effectively spilling to the interior of the craft and choking it from within. Before any of them could react, even more tentacles sprang forth from the road beast, snaring the Blue Lion in a cable net,
far more intricate than the one Red Lion has been free from.
Princess!
Piz exclaimed, her young eyes wide in horror. Alura, can you get out of there?
Captain Keen's voice was not without its own measure of alarm.
Oh my god, Keith can actually sell an emotion. I am utterly shocked. I am surprised.
Bravo! Bravo!
Well, this is a fanfic, isn't it?
An ominous sign in and of itself for one trying so hard to keep a cool head even when things were dire. Hunk and Lance's reactions were less innocent and eloquent. The former just growled at a mixture of fear and outrage for the princess and anger at those harming her, while the latter narrowed his eyes and wordly cursed, "Shit!" The Red Lion felt more than say guilty that it was saving his hide that put her in such a position. Alura's anger was only a strangled cry of pain as the tentacles tightened their grip and the impulses of the beast laid on shock poured and trapped on Blue Lion at full force. Aboard the Dicam score, Prince Lotor's expression went from smugly pleased to horrified outrage when he saw it was Blue Lion being targeted and destroyed by his beast. "Witch!" he roared in fury. "What is your beast doing?"
He is attacking the Alliance's orders, sire. He obeys your command.
Hagar replied quickly. "You know I do not want the princess harmed." Lotor's tone held a surprising note of worry, especially as the sound of Alura's pain scream came over the speakers. "Get your pet off of her now!"
Why couldn't you just held on to the Red Lion?
Cossack muttered from the panel, still focusing his attack on the Castle Alliance. The commander was glad he had nothing to do with the road beast's ordeal. As it was, he had the castle's defenses down to an estimated 23%, but the battleship's own shielding force field was only left at 28%. Slowly, they were wearing the castle down, but it was going to be close. Yeah, those sky medals aren't helping matters either. Hagar frowned as she reached for the communications console, sliced the image of the Blue Lion sparking and struggling in the death grip the Robeast headed in. Lotor snatched it from the witch before she could speak to it, however.
Robeast! Stop attacking the Blue Lion this instant!
Lotor snarled in rage.
You are only to stun or stall the Blue Lion, and the pilot is not to be harmed! Destroy the other lions!
Its accent showing no heed towards Lotor's command. The Robeast tightened its grip on the Blue Lion and sent another powerful shock through it. That time was intense enough to knock Robeast.
No!
The Freitas bellowed, his voice taking on aspiration.
Stop!
A mechanical voice replied over the speakers. Command illogical. Instruction of the target is vital to prime instruction of preventing formation of Voltron.
I am the Prince of Doom, and I order you to stop. Now!
The boom of Lotor's authoritative voice filled the bridge, powerful enough to make all those present, living and robot alike, give pause. Order invalidated, was the Robeast's calm reply. Prime instructions must be carried out. The Robeast lashed more tentacles around the captive Blue Lion and began to tear as it electrified its prey, causing the metal of the lion to squeal and spark as the circuitry was violated and ripped. Trixie, just checking, but the rating of this fic is T, I'm sure. Good. Because I do not want to see Alura in a tentacle fic. Oh, sure, but if it was Lotor doing the kissing and the violating, you would be all over that.
Yes, I would!
Meanwhile, it continued to swat more tentacles and fire its eye lasers at the other four lions that moved with ferocity to try and free their captive fifth with little success.
It's not listening!
Hagar murmured, simultaneously odd and frustrated with her creation.
It must be the advanced AI. It's thinking for itself enough to invalidate orders that go against its program instructions. Incredible!
Wheeling around in fury, Lotor drew his sword and held it at the witch's throat.
A Robeast that thinks well enough to not follow orders is useless!
Get it under control and stop it, old witch. If Alura dies, I assure you, it will be the last.
I'll try, sire.
Hagar agreed nervously, and took the communication unit in hand to address her rebellious creation.
Robeast, I am the one that gave you life. As your creator, I am taking a private instruction to include not harming the Blue Lion or its pilot. Release it at once!
The road beast's response made it clear it was no more willing to listen to its creator than it was to its prince. Alteration of prime instruction illogical. No tactical purpose served in saving enemy craft or pilot. Destruction imminent. Creature began to glow with serious intent as it powered up for a final and destructive laser blast.
It's not listening!
With an angry snarl, Lotor went to Cossack's side.
Take the road beast down! Now!
He ordered, pointing his glowing saber warningly at the console. I don't care about the castle. I don't care about the other lions. I do not want Alura harmed any more so than she has been already! Despite knowing how counterproductive it was to their own purposes, Cossack knew it would be more counterproductive to his status as a living and breathing being to point out that, so he only nodded obediently. It did as the prince ordered.
Right away, sire!
He turned to the robots. You heard him, tin heads. Take it down! Divert whatever power you can to the shields, so the Castle of Lions doesn't blow us out of the sky.
But don't return fire until that road beast is out of commission!
Lotor, meanwhile, ran towards the back of the craft.
Prince Lotor, where are you going?
Hagar asked. To make sure the road beast goes down myself. The prince replied as he ran out of the shuttle bay, where he boarded his own smaller flight craft that held within. Just before he closed the hatch, he looked back at the wits with the doorway to the bridge. You better pray to whatever gods you serve that the princess hasn't met hers, or else you will be meeting yours when I return. With that, Lotor slammed the hatch shut and powered up his ship. Moments later, it blasted out of the hangar bay and into the fray of battle, bound for the captive Blue Lion. Speaking of Lotor, does anybody else beside me think that Keith on Legendary Defender is going to be turned out to be Lotor? Chaos unfolded in the open air of the battlefield on the other side as well. She's not responding, Pitt said, her high voice clearly panicking and struggling to hold back tears. Those cables are tearing her apart.
And we can't get him!
Hug echoed. Damn! He slammed his fist on the console as he fired another blast at the tentacles, holding Blue Lion. But like before, it only sent more to assert him, and the once he severed seemed to regenerate within seconds of being blown apart.
There's got to be some way to get her out of there,
he said determinedly.
Yeah, but hell,
led Sax, before noticing the new blip on his console warning him of incoming fire.
The battleship is firing on us! Look out!
Wait!
Piz corrected in front of Grand Lion.
That wasn't aimed at us. They fired on the road beast.
Keith glanced at his pal and noticed he approached the Lotor's ship, and subsequently fired on the road beast as well.
What the? They're still firing on the castle, Hunt confirmed. It sounds crazy, but it looks like they're trying to take it down too.
They lost control of it? A puzzled X asked.
Or do you think Lotor actually came out because the princess was taking the heat?
I know he claims to love her, but... Over at Yellow Lion, Hunt shook his head.
I've had a hard time believing that.
Believe it or not, there he is, Piz confirmed with an obvious surprise. He's fighting his own road beast. Lance raised an eyebrow. Maybe we ought to let them take each other out?
Wish we could, but there's no time for that.
Keith chimed in for a shake of his head. The princess needs us to get her out of there, and that means helping Lotor.
Then so be it.
He flew back Black Lion into position to give Lotor's ship backup fire, stopping the tentacles slashing out his ship as he melted the one surrounding Blue Lion.
What do you want us to do, Keith? Cover you or move in?
Hunk asked. There was a moment's silence as Keith considered before giving his answer.
Go in if you can, but beware of heavy fire. The battleship may be trying to take out the beast, but it won't hurt any less if those lasers hit us. You already know to stay clear of the tentacles.
Right! The other three Lions pilots replied in unison. On the bridge of the Draco score, Hagar stood next to Cossack, who was soon in command of Lotor's absence as the next highest-ranking military officer.
Seems like such a waste to kill that thing,
the commander muttered, irritated that a battle had been going so well, was being tossed into the proverbial toilet over Princess Alura and Lotor's command. As his robots targeted, he laid heavy fire into it, tearing its back over.
It really was my finest creation. Almost like bringing a robot machine to life.
Yellow Mist muttered.
If it had been any other lion, Voltron might never have been formed again.
Cossacks surveyed the scene as a second explosion tore into the back of the rope's leg, causing it to stumble.
Maybe that's not a lost cause. The blue line was pretty damaged.
Glanced over to Hagar.
Let's just hope that this pilot wasn't, for your sake. I miss your ugly mug around here.
Your concern is overwhelming.
Hagar grumbled at the commander with a clear sarcasm as a blast hit the battleship, causing the lights to drop and alarms to blare, signaling that the signaling system had reached a critically low point of 5%. Knowing full well what the alarms meant, Cossack let loose an imperative string of curses and turned towards one of the robots, which immediately gave the commander a status report. Shields to 5%. Castle Alliance returning fire heavily. Roby's tentacles are currently being deflected, it informed him. Estimating a deflected power loss within 2 minutes. Retreat and withdrawal recommended. Cossack cursed again, while Hagar gripped her staff tightly, full of unspent frustration and anger.
We were so close!
Ready to sit for a retreat and get us the hell out of here!
Cossack ordered with an equally aggravated sigh. He deployed a final barrage of fire both at the Robeast and Castle Alliance, more as a final act, figuratively giving them the bird with weaponry than as an actual tactical maneuver. The final shots for the Draco score struck the injured Robeast in the head, blowing in half, and lowered the Castle Alliance shielding systems to 8%. But that was significantly more than they had left it as the engine switched into high gear, and pulled it back out into deep space. When they were safely out of the fire raids and on their way back to Doom, Hagar sighed and slipped against one of the consoles. Cossack flipped into one of the chairs and folded his arms across his chest scuffly.
Well, that sucked.
My finest creation, and he ordered it destroyed. We have Voltron's lions dead to rights.
She shook her head.
King Sarkon is right. He is a fool for that princess. A hopeless one. I just hope he isn't the death of him.
Or you, if Pinky got hurt bad.
Cossack said with a thoughtful frown.
But she's okay. Those lions seem pretty durable, fortunately for us, so maybe in this case that's a good thing. Prince Lotor is a pretty resourceful kind of guy. He's gotten out of worse grace than that. It looks like we pretty much had the roast beast ice by the time we pulled out.
The commander finished with a slight note of optimism, then shrugged.
I'm just not looking forward to explaining this to King Sarkon when we get back. I'm glad he's off on some other planet for a few days.
Me too.
Hagar agreed with a second sigh.
Me too.
As the two Doomites supported the Draco score had predicted, the final shots from the battle had indeed turned the tide to the ground fight against the powerful Robeast. Both the Voltron pilots and Lotor noticed the departure of the doomed battleship, but neither was terribly concerned with it, given their preoccupation with the out-of-control Robeast in front of them. Lotor had not engaged in any communication with the Lion pilots, but he had noticed that they were working with tandem in him to help the princess, and he decided that he would deal with them after he was assured of Alura's safety. As the ship fired relentlessly through the tangles, tearing the now severely blue line apart, he could almost hear his father's disapproving voice in the back of his head, calling himself a lovesick idiot that was unfit to even be a prince, much less a future king of an empire. But he ignored it. All the agitated prince could think about was Alura, his beautiful Arisian treasure, the one he wanted for his bride, his love, his amusement, the one destined, in his eyes, to be his. Don't worry, Lotor. She's destined in my eyes, too.
And Trixie's. And me.
I am I.
And me, and me, and me, and me, and me, and me.
Oh, let's just face it, the entire table's rooting for you, Lotor. Go, Lotor! Woo! Voltron Force, meanwhile, had no time to question the motives as to Lotor's sudden switch in tactics from evil to heroic, as they were more concerned with Princess Allura's safety than anything else. When Robeast's head exploded from the last shot of the battleship, the green and red lions attacked the beast's feet, causing it to topple over with a loud crash that brought out more explosions. The AI controlling them was damaged beyond use. The tentacles flopped and sparked randomly without direction, making them still hazardous and treacherous to navigate around, but not nearly as dangerous when they were actively being controlled. Lotor's ship and the Black Lion aggressively cut through the tentacles, still holding Blue Lion captive, while Yellow Lion maneuvered in to help drag the unresponsive Blue Lion away from the downed road beasts into safety. As soon as Yellow Lion got the Blue Lion safely out of range, Green and Red Lions opened fire on the damaged and thrashing road beasts on the ground to blast it apart once and for all. Letting out one final painful roar of defiance, the half-sentient and half-machine creature succumbed to the damage and rolled over it silently before its power core exploded in a brilliant display of sparks. Unfortunately for Lotor, his ship was not quite as durable as Black Lion, and as it and Black Lion made haste to land beside the fallen Blue Lion to check for his safety, a fireball from the explosion caught the prince's ship, damaged its back and end beyond repair. Lotor struggled to regain control of his vessel, but to no avail. It crashed to the ground in a hard impact, twisting it to an ugly and unsalvageable hunk of metal as it scraped across rock and grass to a standstill. Ignoring the fallen ship of the Prince of Doom, the Voltron Force pilots climbed out of their lions and immediately went to Blue Lion to see if Alura was right.
Alura!
Keith exclaimed, pulling on the hatch.
Hang on!
Hunk shoved his way over alongside Keith.
Let me give you a hand!
He offered, and with Keith's assistance, pulled the bent metal open so they could get inside. Please be all right, Princess, Piss said plaintively, peering into the open and simultaneously hoping for the best and fearing for the worst.
Man, that road beast did a number on it,
Lance murmured, knowing how severe the Blue Lion's damage was up close.
Even if she's okay, I don't think this thing will ever fly again.
Keith slipped in through the hatch and found Alura unconscious in her chair, but to his immense relief still breathing and from the looks of it, not suffering any life-threatening wounds.
She's alive,
the captain called out immediately, bringing an equally relieved breath from the other members of the Voltron force.
But I think we ought to get back to her castle and to the medbay right away. She looks okay for the most part, but she might have internal injuries. If you hear her bad, I'm going to tell Lotor to put it myself,
Hunk grumbled as he helped Keith hoist the injured princess out of the damaged lion. Lance glanced over the wreckage of the prince's ship.
Carmen might have already done that for you, Hunk. That crash doesn't look like it was a soft one.
And the crazy thing is, he was helping us at the end there, Pitt said, shaking her head.
Helping to fix a mess he created with that road beast,
Keith said, an angry edge to his tone.
Shut up!
Alura stirred groggily in the captain's arms. Keith, she murmured, what happened?
You'll be okay, Princess,
Lance told her, leaning over her with a reassuring smile.
That road beast did a number on Blue Lion, but we took him down.
From beside him, Pitt nodded while Keith pulled off her helmet to make sure she had not suffered a head injury. It was relieved to see nothing out of place aside from a few strands of golden hair.
We were worried about you.
I'm okay, the princess said softly, blinking as trying to focus to get her bearings. Just a little tired and dizzy. Keith eased her to the ground into a standing position. While she stumbled, both he and Hunk held her up tight.
Easy there, Princess,
Hunk told her, keeping a firm grip on her shoulder. Alura glanced around. It was then that she noticed the downed Doom ship in the distance, with the smoldering remains of the road beast behind it. What happened? Is that one of their ships? Nodding, Lance knelt beside her.
Well, you charged in to free my lion. The tentacles got a good trip on you. Things got a little heated, and the best we could figure is Lotor came out to stop them from hurting you.
He must have ordered something like that, Pitts added, because their ship started firing on the road beast before it took off. The princess blinked and stared at the ship, feeling a strange mixture of emotion at the idea that Lotor had nearly succeeded in a serious attack on their planet and their castle, but had stopped it all and intervened when she had been in harm's way. It had not been the first time that he had acted in such a way. It made her wonder just how deep the princess's feelings for her ran. Oh, I don't know. Maybe blowing up that monument in your honor could be a clue. The fact that he ordered some of his minions to build a giant 10-foot tall golden statue of it, and that all their children must worship it every morning. She knew that he claimed to love her, but it was always because he wanted to possess her. But to take such risks for a mere possession... Oh, for heaven's sake, Alura, get it through your skull! He wants you! He loves you! He wants to get you on his bed and make babies! Sweet, beautiful babies! sighed. Is he alright? The other Voltron pilots looked back at her blankly. You did check on him, didn't you?
You were our first priority, Princess,
Keith told her, surprised that she was already concerned about Lotor's welfare when he was the one responsible for what had happened to her. He knew, all of them did, that she was compassionate and would likely insist on checking on Lotor. In fact, they eventually would have themselves, without her prodding, given their own consciousness. Okay, maybe they would. But to do so that soon was unexpected, even for one as kind-hearted as Princess Alura.
We had to make sure you were all right,
Hunk added. Are there not 4 of you? I count 1, 2, 3, 4. You could split up! Good golly, Keith! Get off your rump and actually do it! Job! Alura looked over and winced, both at the ugly sight of the crass and because of her physical loosiness. Please check on him now, she urged her teammates. He did go out of his way to save me. We owe him that. Lance frowned, but got to his feet anyway. I don't think we owe him much of anything, but all right. Joining the Red Lion pilot's side, Keith sighed.
No, she's right. As much as I hate to do it, we should make sure he's alive. If we let him die, we wouldn't be any better than he is. Pidge, you stay here with her. Princess, I don't think it's a good idea for you to be walking around just yet. I, for one, hope Lotor's alive and well, Hunk said with a frown, so I can put my boot up his blue ass in person.
Hunk, I've watched all of Voltron and Go Lion. You guys had the martial prowess of Merle. Hunk! Alura exclaimed, getting uneasily to her feet as she did so. He helped save my life!
Don't worry, I won't,
Hunk assured her, smiled ruefully as he left her with Pidge to join the others on their way to the crest site.
I just like to, that's all.
Ignoring Keith's warning, Alura followed under the guides, and Pidge trailed behind her. Princess! I'm fine, Pidge, Alura replied. Keith looked back down at the two of them. The princess met his gaze with an unyielding one of her own. I want to speak to Lotor myself. The group fell silent as they made their way over to the ship. They were within 10 feet of it when the hatch came open and Lotor stumbled out. The Prince of Doom was not in a bad shape, considering the wreckage he had emerged from, thanks to his helmet and sturdy build of the pilot's seat of his ship. But he had also seen better days as well. He had a number of minor abrasions, and his clothes were scratched, and dirty with blood from superficial cuts. His entire body ached from the force of the crash, but he'd been fortunate enough to suffer no broken bones or internal injuries. He noticed the Voltron force approaching, but his eyes focused on the princess in the back immediately. Alura.
Don't touch her,
Keith warned, not advancing towards the prince aggressively, but standing attentively in front of the Eurasian princess. A scowl crossed Lotor's face when he heard the Voltron count his words.
I wasn't addressing you,
he informed him coldly before turning his gaze to Alura. You're unharmed, he said, eyes brightening unmistakably as he met hers. I'm glad. He took a step toward her. Immediately, the rest of the Voltron force took a step in front of her to protect him from her. Frowning at what she considered their misguided overprotectiveness, Alura gently pushed past Elias and Pidge and stood in the center of the group, facing Lotor. He's not going to hurt me, she told him pointedly. He's in no shape for that. You can see that, can't you? She looked back to Lotor. Are you all right? Lotor nodded, while the men of the Voltron force exchanged dubious looks. No offense, Princess, but this wouldn't be the first time that Lotor's lied and pulled a fast one about what kind of state he was in to get to you, Lance pointed out, eyeing the prince with heavy suspicion. Pidge nodded in agreement with Red Lion Pilot. He could be lying about this as easily as he lied about turning good or about wanting to marry Queen Merla when he lied to Gus to fake Planet Doom. Why must you people remind me of the 3rd season? Ugh!
I sooner believe that Merla changed as opposed to Lotor, at any rate,
Keith asserted, also eyeing Lotor rarely, preparing to leap in front of the princess if need be. And also know that Lotor still had a seatbed sword at his side. And he knew that Lotor would not be above faking injury to lure her close enough to take her hostage, even if he didn't have a ship to get away in. Lotor's glare at the Voltron force party is hardened. If I wanted to see Alura hurt, I would have let Hagar's beast finish the job it did on Blue Lion, he said haughtily. I certainly would not have left my ship behind and destroyed my own dust to stop it, he added, before taking another step towards the princess. I'm sorry if I caused you pain. His voice softened considerably as he addressed her. You must know I did not want that. Hug made a face as he considered the biggest line of bull he had ever come from the prince.
Funny, Lotor. I think attacking her plant would cause her a lot of pain. Ow!
You're just punching everybody, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Casting a disgusted scowl at the young pilot, Lotor reached for Alura's hand and took it in his as he addressed Song's remark. I invade this planet on my father's orders. My father, who once dueled for this planet and was met with resistance when he stepped in to claim it as his. He wants Eris as in his empire, not destroyed. It is your resistance that destroys it. The only part of Eris with any personal meaning to it, to me, is right here. The Lotor looked at the princess's eyes. You know that I would never allow harm to come to you. Alura frowned and wrenched her hand away from him. I wish I could believe that, Lotor. Princess's eyes clouded at her harsh words. Don't you? If you truly meant nothing to me, wouldn't I be on that ship claiming victory on this planet over your downed lion and dead body? I believe you care, Lotor, Alura admitted finally. At least that you care as deeply as someone like you could. As deeply as someone like you could. Her words sliced your doomed princess like a knife, and her gentle voice cut him more deeply than any blade. She believes me incapable of love? Lotor realized, and the ache of his battered body suddenly felt quite intense, nearly unbearable. It's gotta make you think. Why do so many of these heroes in 1980s shows believe so easily that bad guys are incapable of falling in love? I mean, shoot, that's one of the billion reasons why I love Tex Hex. Because of his backstory, well-done character development. It's why I love Rancic. In the back of his head, Lotor could almost hear his father's cruel laughter, taunting and insulting him with all the insult and insultations of weakness he had been subject to over years, and especially since he had fallen so hard for the Arisen princess. I mean, shoot. We see Zarkon hugging Lotor when he first came in his first appearance. It mingled with the bitter laughter of Merla's, calling him a fool as she had him when he had last seen him, drained the last bit of the prince's strength. I care more than you know, Lotor managed to reply through the shroud of unwelcome emotion that welled up inside him. More than you will let yourself know. Someday, I will prove that to you. Before Alura could answer, a sarcastic remark came from Lance's direction. He's breaking my heart over here. The red pilot muttered, giving a quiet voice to the sentiment shared by the male pilots of the Voltron force. And he is breaking the law here. Corran's stern voice came from the side. Both Lotor and the Voltron force turned around in surprise. Saw the Arisen diplomat standing there with a heavily armed force of castle guardsmen behind him. Arrest that man, he ordered, pointing to Lotor. Bring him into custody immediately. He's a danger to this planet and everyone on it. Immediately the guardsmen surrounded Lotor as ordered. The prince stood in protest and went to draw his sword on them and fight. But his injured and battle-weary state was easily overpowered. The glowing sword fell to the ground quickly, when 6 guards surrounded and subdued Lotor with several blasts of stun guns. Stripped by the violent sight, with the knowledge that Lotor was there because he had intervened to save her, Alura ran between the diplomat and captured Prince of Doom. Corran, wait! Corran shook his head, making it clear he would hear no argument.
After nearly losing your battle today, Princess, I am taking no chances with your safety.
He turned to the guardsman.
I want this man brought to the castle, placed into holding, and heavily guarded.
But he's injured! Alura protested, as the men began to drag the fallen Lotor, still struggling as best as he could in their grasp, fruitless as it was, towards the Castle of Lions.
I say let him bleed. He'll live without a band-aid.
Hunk muttered.
Hunk, you are on my list today!
Alura started glaring back at Hunk, but continued to argue with Koran.
I know what he's done, but he did save...
I know what he's done. I know that he did to you, and what he did to the Blue Lion that may never will fly again, and what he's done and tried to do to our planet.
Koran cut the princess off sternly.
If you feel that this scoundrel should have medical attention, then he'll have it. In his cell and under heavy guard.
Lotor looked over at Alura as the guards hauled him away, the gaze of his yellow eyes heavily upon her as they held him off. She waited for her to say something, but he remained silent, as a result so did she. This isn't right, Alura murmured softly as the prince was taken away. Koran stalked off staunchly behind him, and asserted that his orders were following out exactly. Piers looked up at Alura certainly. They won't hurt him.
Yeah, here on Eris, we keep him,
Hunk asserted. It was his thought that imprisonment was too good for someone like Lotor. But he had taste to keep his sentiments to himself, knowing how the princess would react. Good boy! A cloud of uncertainty settling over her, Lotor started for the castle. And what do we do then, once we have him? Keith eyed the princess curiously, wondering exactly what it was she was thinking, and a feeling of a touch of unease in the way she looked at the captured princess' retreating form.
That's up to you,
he said quietly, then softly added, Princess. It was over 2 hours later when Lotor awakened, having passed out from the exhaustion shortly after being hauled into the Castle of Lions. As Koran had ordered, the captured Prince of Doom had been placed in a cell, a moderately sized incarceration area with a cot, sink, and the bare necessities, and a barred door that seemed to Lotor more like a cage than the sort of cell he was accustomed to. Back on Doom, as Hunk pointed out earlier, prisoners were rarely treated with such comparatively lesser surroundings. As Princess Alura's orders, Dr. Gorma, the castle physician, had been sent in to check on Lotor shortly after he was imprisoned. After declaring Lotor's injuries minor, and treating what scrapes he had topically, the doctor had left with the note that the enemy prince would be fine with a little rest, which of course was all Lotor could do given the circumstances. Time passed quickly for Alura as well. Almost as soon as Lotor was taken into custody, Photon Force had brought the lions back, only to find the Blue Lion was severely damaged, far worse than anyone had realized. The black and yellow lions had been used to haul the non-functioning lion back. Once it was placed on its pedestal at the bottom of the lake, a crew was put to work immediately to begin the repairs. The report came back quickly that although they had not the time to go through every inch of the broken lion thoroughly, by appearances it was irreparable. The fine circuitry was torn to shreds and melted from the shocks and heat of the liquid tentacles, and the power cells were damaged beyond repair. None of the lions had ever suffered such physical damage previously, and none of them really had any idea how to repair it, as technical experts on Eris were a rarity.
Oh, crying out loud!
You mean that
Prince Alfor did write all this stuff down in a book?
Of the ones that had not died during the years of war fighting off Dune, those who remained still had no knowledge of the Voltron Alliance. Even Marianne, the Caspian robot expert Koran knew, and who he had contacted immediately about the matter, said he would come and look, but had little faith he could repair something as advanced as one of Voltron's lions. The lions were things of legend after all, and part of that legend was that they ran to extend on magic. Marianne told him that it was an experience that when something on random magic broke, more often than not, no matter how well it might be repaired physically, odds are it would never be the same again. The worst implication of it all, the one that worried all of them and the Castle Alliance a great deal, was that once again they were without Voltron to defend them, much like they had been when Swen was injured years ago. Unfortunately, at that time it was not a pilot that could be replaced, but a lion itself. Ironically, the same lion. Alura found herself wondering if her Blue Lion was cursed in some way. The Arisen Princess prayed that she would get some kind of guidance or help from her father, but none came.
Bitch, I'm not about to give you a Deus Ex Machina. Of this, I'm out.
She did worry she was the destruction of her Voltron somehow cut her father's tie to the mortal plane. And so, if that meant that all hope for restoring Voltron was lost. She hoped not. But even if that was the case, she knows that she could not depend on her father to fix things from beyond the grave. As another answer would have to be found. Well, I know this guy on Earth named Nosaburo Nambu who might be able to help, and I know a couple of guys on Gaia that have experience working with quasi-magical, quasi-mecha things.
Actually, technically, it's a guy Melith.
Well, why not just call all of them mechas and save the trouble?
Oh, sure. Why not call cartoons anime cartoons, and comics?
Yeah, why don't we?
Shut up.
Alura hoped that the answer was Lotor, although she had not discussed the matter with the prince at Alura or any of the Voltron Force members during the chaotic hours that followed the prince's arrest. He had been in her thoughts constantly. Normally, she valued their input, but they were so distrusting of Lotor, and rightfully so, she supposed, and she had a feeling that they would refuse to listen to a thing he said. Alura, on the other hand, was not so quick to dismiss the possibility. Lotor did have decency in him, even if it was buried under years of cruelty and evil, and she was willing to see if it could be brought out. The prince lay awake in his cell, silent and still, when he heard Alura's voice down the hall dismiss the guards posted outside. Brightening at the prospect of a visit from her, he sat up as she approached. "Alura," he greeted her, climbing out of bed. "You came to see me." "The doctor told me you weren't hurt badly in the crash," she said softly, feeling a measure of compassion as she looked over at the defeated prince in his cell. Lotor walked over to the cell door, not taking his eyes off of her for a moment. "Does that disappoint you?" "No," she protested. I'm glad you're not hurt. I don't like seeing anyone hurt, Lotor. Even someone like you." "Although someone who loves you enough to risk his very life to save yours?" he challenged. Laura found herself uncomfortable under the weight of his gaze, wrestling with a feeling of inherent distrust of the man who had visited such ravages on her planet, and guilt for the fact that she knew his words to be true. At least, as true as anything Lotor said could be. That was the source of the conflict, wasn't it? The princess realized in silence that followed his remark. "Thank you for that," she said finally, insincerely. A small smile tuggled at the captive prince's lips. "It was nothing I wouldn't do for you whenever you're in danger," Lotor replied, "and nothing I haven't done before. But it is the first time I've heard you tell me it meant something to you." "Of course it did!" Alura asserted softly, as he leaned closer to the bars, searching Lotor's blue face for a scent of anything that would give her insight to understanding him or his true motivations, since he was not quite able to trust his words. She knew firsthand how deceptive those could be. "It did when you pulled me out of Merla's machine a few months ago, too," she admitted after a thoughtful pause. "I suppose I never told you." Lotor smiled wide, despite circumstances. "You never did. You didn't," he confirmed as he reached a hand through the bars to take her hand. "Nor after I stopped Merla from poisoning you by warning Captain Keith." Alura frowned, but Lotor held her hand. "What?" "The poisoned mead that Merla sent to the Castle of Lions for his birthday some time ago," Lotor told her as he caressed her fingers gently. "I was the one that warned him it was laced with poison. He did tell you that I was the one who told him that, didn't he?" The look on Alura's face and her uncomfortable silence answered Lotor's question for him. His face darkened as he realized that his good deed had gone unnoted. "And my latest has gone unpunished," the captive prince thought sourly, as he noted the bars held him there, separating him from the lovely princess in front of him. "I suppose you probably believe that I had anything to do with that," Lotor said finally, his tone icy with bitterness. He released her hand and turned away, trying to keep his emotions in check. "After all, I've lied to you before. Why should I stop now? Perhaps you think it's just a ploy to gain your sympathy." He sighed. "You have no reason to think it, wouldn't you?" "No," Alura protested. "I do believe it, Lotor. I don't know why Keith didn't say anything."
"Because he's an asshole!"
"And I'm sure he had his reasons, but I do believe you." Lotor turned around, faced her again. But you still don't believe me capable of loving you as I do. Lotor, I can't talk about that. She turned aside for a moment to collect her thoughts. I need to think about my planet, my duty to it. Lotor said nothing, and only nodded. A disappointed look evident in his yellow eyes. Despite his silence, the princess continued. Your attack destroyed Blue Lion, she admitted to him, and they never fly again. That leaves us without Voltron, which I'm sure your father will be quite pleased to learn. If the crew of that battleship you brought here hasn't told him already. We only have one tool to bargain with to keep him from racing this planet to rock and dirt, and that's you. I might be able to grant you a measure of amnesty if you help us, Lotor, but... A cold and bitter laugh came from the prince upon hearing her word. You mean so well, Alura, Lotor said quietly, with no genuine admiration in his voice. I believe you would give me sanctuary if I helped you, but that won't happen. For one, I am worthless to my father. I don't mean enough to him to barter or agree to peaceful terms with Varys for. And even if we did agree to some sort of exchange, he turned around and had me attack as soon as I was free. You and I both know that. Alura frowned. I also know that you do have honor in you somewhere, Lotor. You don't use it, but you have it. If you didn't, you would have let me die, like you said. I would like to think that if I helped you, we defy honor the same way, Alura? I'm not sure. I think you and your Space Explorers friends would call my motivations self-serving ones. After all, I only spared you because I care for you. Do you think I would have given Damaris a second thought if it was Red Lion that was torn apart instead of Blue One? So you say you won't cooperate? That you won't accept any offer of amnesty if we give it to you in exchange for helping fight off your father? Alura argued, straightening. You would rather stay here, locked in a cell for the rest of your life? Before Lotor could give the princess an answer, the door to the holding area opened, and the princess turned to see Karan, Bitch, Keith, and Lance standing there, along with the two guards that she had dismissed. Admittedly, Bitch, I mean Nanny, charged over and grabbed the princess's arm. Oh, shoot, I actually have to read Nanny's dialogue. Okay, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Fluttershy hugging Eevees. Fluttershy hugging Eevees. I can do this. This is no place for a nice girl like you. Bitch! Look here! She is in the middle of a war zone. She is doing her duty, unlike you. You, who are willing to let the entire planet burn just to protect her. You miserable, no good piece of shit! Where are you in this series? You serve no purpose beyond ticking me off. You know what happens to you in the anime? In the original Japanese version? You're gonna love this. When Karan's son comes in to trick you, he kills you. Yeah, you die, bitch. You die hard. And you wanna know what I did on that episode when I saw your corpse? I laughed. I had a party for you. I want you dead. I wish this story would follow the anime's example and pop a cap in your head. I hope you bleed. The bitch lectured. And you, she said, glaring hatefully at Lotor. You need to die. You stay away from my baby, you swine! That swine saved her life! And maybe if you got off of your freaking high horse and actually cared about somebody other than yourself... Yeah, I said it, you selfish twit. You care only about yourself. It's your baby. It's your princess. Not the planets, not the entire world. Oh, no. The world could be burned as long as you sit nice and comfortably in your little chair protecting her. Bite me and go to hell! Bitch! I mean, Nanny! Alura screamed angrily. I was negotiating with Lotor! Let go of me. You know, Alura, if you want to... Chop! execute her in front of a fire squad? I'll be in the first in line!
Corin frowned disapprovingly.
I am sorry, Princess, but she is right. This is no place for you.
The only ruler left on planet Eris has no place negotiating with a prince. And people wonder why I prefer Coran for Legendary Defender.
It is not worth the breath you waste speaking with him.
I consider myself lucky that she disagrees. Lotor snapped, eyeing the intruders with cold intent. Lance rolled his eyes at the prisoner.
You should consider yourself lucky that she thinks you're worth giving the time of day to. If it was up to us, you'd still be laying that wreckage where you belong. Anybody else feel like getting a back slap?
Lotor narrowed his serpentine eyes at the Red Lion pilot. Then it would seem you space explorers aren't quite as honorable as you like to pretend you are.
No, they aren't.
No, they just aren't.
I've seen the entire show. They're not, especially the third season.
He said, and then cast an equally disgusted glare at Keith. But that comes as no surprise to me from someone who would misrepresent his role in saving his dear princess's life from poison. Keith's eyes went wide with shock, and he glared back at the prince defensively.
Hey, now wait a minute. Enough!
Coran declared, cutting them all off.
We wasted enough time with this man, and his lies and insinuations.
Diplomat said staunchly, casting a weary glare of his own Lotor's way.
Besides, he will not be a pest and a distraction to us much longer.
What do you mean?
That's what we came down to tell you, Princess.
Keith explained as he joined her side by side by the cell.
We're looking to tell you the news, and one of the security guards said you came to speak down to Lotor.
Alura looked down from Keith to Coran. What news? She demanded. While the imprisoned Lotor looked on, he remained silent.
We just got off from the Horde for Galaxy Garrison and filled him in on what happened, Lance informed her. They're sending someone out here ASAP, probably to arrive sometime tomorrow, to take Lotor off our hands and into custody. They plan to try him for all the war crimes he committed against the Alliance's planets.
Lotor's blood ran cold at the news, knowing that was a very dire circumstances indeed for him. But he refused to allow any of his enemies to see that he felt or any sort of fear or weakness. Instead, all he did was look silently at Alura, at the beloved princess he risked everything for. Alura, I saved you. You have the power to save me. He thought powerfully, almost projecting the thought. Had he any telepathic abilities at all, it was sounded in the arisen princess's mind, like a heartfelt plea laced with desperation. Overwhelmed where she stood, Alura felt the heavy gaze of Lotor on her again. So many conflicting thoughts went through her, as she found herself alternatively wishing that the prince would have just saved her and frightened her away as he had before, but that he would have done nothing towards rescuing her from Blue Lion's grasp, so she could feel no urge to hold back, no sense of guilt in letting him go. After all, this was Lotor, Crown Prince of Doom, son of and conqueror for ruthless King Zarkon, the same man who unleashed untold horrors on our planet, who was responsible for countless innocent deaths and even more innocent suffering. Yet, she could not bring herself to hate him. Not that man who had spoken to her so gently, who assured her of his love, or even acted and showed it in his contempt in a twisted way, who had literally thrown himself at a monster, all for her. Try him, the princess murmured, eyes shifting from Lotor to Keith, and Lance and finally to Coran. The keeper of the Castle of Lions nodded.
Galaxy Garrison will give him a fair trial and a just punishment if he found guilty.
A fair trial? A fair trial? Okay. If it's going to be a fair trial, then every single person on that side should not be a member of Galaxy Garrison.
If,
Lance snorted sarcastically, like there's any question. Alura glanced from Lotor to her companion's uncertainty. It sounded like the right thing. the fair thing. Galaxy Garrison would be fair. And of course, justice would be everything the Galaxy Alliance and its plans stood for. Surely they would take Lotor's heroic treatment of her into account and give him a fair sentence. A fair trial? While Coran nodded in assurance to the young princess, Bits once again glared at Lotor's cell.
It's more than a rascal like him deserves!
Hate!
It is for the best.
Keith told the princess gently as he took her hand.
We don't have the means to hold Lotor here indefinitely. Sarkhan wouldn't bargain for him anyway. If he does want his son back, he can just as easily negotiate with Galaxy Garrison with us. In fact, he's more likely to cooperate with a force like them, rather than us here on Eris, especially without Voltron.
Alura nodded, although it was not as sure as he felt it would be. As he believed he was making the right decision, yet.
Do you understand why this is the best way to go about things, don't you, Princess?
Coran prompted Alura. Taking one last meaningful look of Alura, her blue eyes filled with genuine concern. They both delighted and crushed the Cancer Prince all at once. She burned back towards her advisor, and the Voltron forced him a slow nod. Yes, I did.
Good,
Nanny said, putting her arm around Alura's shoulders.
Now, let's get you out of here. You had a rough day and need your rest, and this place is not fit for any princess.
Except for maybe Twilight, Celestia, Luna, Cadence, an adult Flurry Heart, Elsa and Anna, Mona, maybe pre-Flying Ices and Belle, Jasmine, Leia, Jaina, Melorna, Melorna's sister, Hitomi after she marries Vaughn,
Hey, back out the Escaflowne shipping!
Isagi, Rei, Minako, Makoto, Ami, Haruka, Masiru, Sasuna, Hotaru, Chibiusa, Zelda, Peach, Daisy, Ruby and Yang.
They're not princesses.
No, but they are the princesses of my heart. Elion, Esmeraldas, every single incarnation of Princess Zelda, and Princess Longwing. Yeah. Oh. And Eowyn. Where does Arwen fall in the princess category? I mean, she is the daughter of Elrond.
I'm going to say not a princess. You didn't say so in the books.
But yeah, talking to a bad guy is no place for a princess, huh, girls?
Bits began to usher her towards the stairs, but Alura halted and turned back to Lotor for a moment, while Keith glanced at Coran head back out. Lotor,
Goodbye, Alura.
Lotor said abruptly, cutting her off. Only her words spoken as to why she had decided what she had. On some level, the prince understood her decision. After all, it was perfectly logical and more than fair. Lotor knew that Alura genuinely believed that Galaxy Garrison would treat him fairly. But what the naive and compassionate princess considered fair, and what a military collaborator considered justice were two different things. And he knew that. Still, it did not change his feelings. Nothing else. Maybe she'll believe I am capable of it in the end. Lotor mused sadly. 3 final words to the princess's retreating form. I love you. And with that, one last glance, and a haunting expression of beauty laced with regret that the prince would never regret, Alura disappeared upstairs. Don't worry, folks. The author has done more. There is a sequel to this story. But for right now, let's review this chapter as a whole on its own, and I love it. I really, really, really do. The grammar, pacing, and spelling is done perfectly. Character motivations are done really well, and everybody is very believable. See, here's the thing when it comes to Voltron and it as a show, in my personal opinion, why I prefer Voltron Force. The Voltron Force characters have personalities. They have character arcs. They actually are developed. They grow. They change. They show more than one emotion. Voltron as a whole, sadly in both Japan and English version, both suffer from the same thing. Everybody there is very, 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 very basic, with the sole exception of Lotor, who shows way more character development and way more depth than anybody on the team. Which is why I kind of do Draco and Leather Pants him. I mean, we see it several times in the show proper where he pulls off different motivations, does for Alura, or he actually does show some signs of good in him. And that's kind of like how people will tell you, well, sometimes I just want to see Doom win. Because Doom does show good character. He shows compassion. He shows things that are beyond what you would understand as villainy. Sometimes you gotta understand that there's always more than one side to this person. There's always more than one side to a character. That people are nuanced, and a good character should have depth. A good character, in a sense, a good story, should always be able to give you a chance to think, and not put yourself instantaneously to one side of the argument or the other. But make you actually think, is this right? Is this wrong? Kind of the reason why I've been enjoying the hell out of Escaflowey lately. And this fic gives us that. It gives us a well-defined Lotor. So, a trend that I sometimes get annoyed by in Lotor and Alura fics, is when they just have him be a rapist and not actually try to look into other sides of his personality. So that's the same. They also decide to not give Alura anything to go with beyond, oh my gosh, I'm a distressed damsel. I do like that this is actually doing something that the show never did, and actually give Alura more to do than just being, I'm only here to pilot the ship. And of course, with Keys, Lance, Hunk, and Pidge being one note, I'm perfectly able to believe that they would go this far because, well, Keys has always been, in the original series, the type of leader that, well, Tony Stark jokes that Captain America is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't believe that somebody's all good. That usually means they have something to hide. And that's the way I feel with Keith. He's like, I'm always good. No, you're not. Other than that, you're really, really boring. And sadly, I've also seen episodes where Keith basically dismisses anything right or wrong because of his own stuck-up opinions. In case you haven't guessed, no, I don't like Keith. Not in the original series. Legendary Defender, yeah. And that's what I think held a lot of the sequel series back. Was that they were trying to move on with these characters, but when they did, the characters didn't feel right anymore. They didn't feel like who they were. When they, on Voltron, the third dimension, Bear crap! What did we get out of it? Oh, Keith is still commander and still boring.
And Lotor got all of the character development out of his way, and it's boring.
Oh, and everybody's instantaneously evil. If you believe that they are evil, then do not actually think that they could actually be changed for the better. And if somebody is pure evil, then you have no choice but to kill them.
Voltron Force! No Lotor!
Look what happened. You see, here's the thing. Without Lotor, they had to actually try to give the guy's character. Didn't work too well now, did it? This is why Voltron Force succeeded even without Lotor. And this fig harkens on that. It actually focuses on to the characters that I like about this show and gives them some really good motivations. I also like how conflicted Alura is. It makes perfect sense. So in all, this is a great fic, and I hope the authors will allow me to read more, because I do want to see the rest. Well, that was one down. That's his where to go. I'll see you next time.